All right, welcome to our local professional spotlight and Q&A series. My name is Nordis Forcade-Martin. I am the founder and CEO of the Forcade Group, a real estate team that, besides helping clients navigate the real estate market, enjoys bringing information to the community. During this series, we delve into various relevant topics that are affecting homeowners and those looking to buy, and we do this with the goal of educating our community by showcasing the professionals who are problem solvers in the arena. We love to bring light to these conversations, so do expect to have some fun. So welcome to our show. And today I have the pleasure of having Ariella Gutman, partner at Haber Law. Welcome, Ariella. Thank you so much.
Hi, how are you?
Good, doing great. So let's kick it off with you telling us a little bit about yourself.
I am a business litigation attorney in Miami, Florida, servicing all of Florida, and specifically because condo associations are businesses too, and they operate as businesses with additional special laws. I do a lot of condo litigation and deal with condominium matters.
Awesome. Very timely topic, as we know that there's a lot of questions out there and headlines happening because of everything that has changed in the condo environment. So we're going to get right into it. And the first question I have for you, Ariella, is what is the new law on reserves and what does it require from the unit owners?
So there has been a lot of different pieces of litigation and also legislation that have really made the laws of the state of Florida um, get, I guess, evolve and address all of the issues that condos are facing, and specifically after the Surfside Towers collapse and a lot of the structural issues came to light that many of these buildings are facing. Most recently, and the one that is important because deadlines are coming up, is the structural integrity reserve study. um, I guess the need to conduct that. And under the Florida legislation, these studies are supposed to be done by December 31st, 2024 for buildings who predate creation, meaning they were not built or they have been built prior to July of 2022, which is a majority of these buildings. So if you're new construction, this doesn't really apply to you. But if you are a building that has been around prior to that deadline, this applies to you. And this means that your association has to hire a professional, whether it be an engineer or a structural engineer, an architect, to evaluate certain components of your building, specifically in the structural realm, whether it be stucco, windows, pool deck area, garages, to see what items need replacement or repair. And if they need repair, what the lifetime of that repair will be, in, meaning like you'll need to repair it within 5 years, so that they could give you a value on that and the association could begin to pass assessments or budget accordingly. And this is an informational type of study that needs to be done so that the unit owners can anticipate what these costs will be going forward and they can plan for it.
Okay. So that's a structural survey, the one that you're referring to, correct?
Correct.
And I understand that there's also a reserve study.
It's the same thing. It's called the Structural Integrity Reserve Study, SIRS.
Okay. So there's a structural survey study, I'm sorry, and then part of the structural survey or study is also making sure that there's reserves sufficient to be able to
Correct.
conduct.
By placing a life expectancy time frame on it, there also is a value assigned to it by that architect or professional that is a licensed professional that will tell you your roof will cost $1 million, and I'm giving a random number. Your roof will cost $1 million. You have about 5 years of life expectancy left on it, or you should change and do your waterproofing now. The value is going to be $450,000. And that way you can pass assessments in accordance with that. And you have the kind of like a plan path forward to ensure certain aspects of your building are being addressed. Some people are seeing that they have a lot of projects to do, So this design professional will also help you prioritize them, and also if something is very emergency or dire, they will identify them right from the get-go.
Okay. There were some, you mentioned a deadline of December 31st of this year, 2024, and there was also dates referring to May of 2025. Is there such a deadline still? What is the difference between those two?
Sure. The difference is as follows. If you are a building that the two are, and I don't know of a May deadline. It's December 31st, 2025 to complete your SIRS evaluation, your reserve study. It's a structural integrity reserve study. You have to complete that by December 31st, 2024.
Okay.
However, another bill that was signed into law in June of 2023 allows associations to complete a milestone inspection if you've done that, like a 40-year recertification, or and if you've done that before December 31st, 2026, and to complete the structural integrity reserve study simultaneously with the milestone inspection. But you must complete the SIRS no matter what by December 31st, 2026.
Okay, got it. So we already agreed that we understand that the reserve study is the same thing as the structural integrity reserve study. What happens if the reserves are not collected?
If the reserves are not collected, the board of that building is subject to certain fines and penalties under the new Florida statutes. And the Florida statutes have also increased the personal liability of board directors for failing to adhere to the statutes. And specifically, if you have these issues, you are more scrutinized than you were before. And there are certain limited situations where if your building is in dire need and has an issue and you don't have the reserves, your building could get shut down.
Okay, understood.
But the penalties for the board members could be criminal in nature and or fines.
Got it. Okay. So taking all of this into consideration, what advice do you have for unit owners?
For unit owners, I would say get clarity as to what is coming down the pipes. You are entitled as a unit owner to request information from your association, whether it be financial records, board meeting minutes if you cannot make it or attend, and stay active to understand what's going on in your building. This is your asset. So it's your possession that is either going to increase in value or decrease in value, and the market could be affected by whatever work needs to be done in the condition of your building. So I would do that. And additionally, you could do some planning in order to save for certain reserves that need to be paid or assessments that are coming down the pipe. And finally, there are a lot of financial associations or banks that are being very favorable to associations, either owners individually or the governing body, meaning like the association as a business, to give them loans. And so all of that should be part of what unit owners are keeping in mind and evaluating when all of this is happening.
Got it. So what are some of the issues that you see we are facing because of this new law?
The main issue we see, or we don't know how it's going to pan out really, is who is going to make sure that all of these associations are actually completing what they need to do and enforcing these new regulations. We know that the Department of Professional and Business Regulation, the DBPR, as most people know it, is responsible for all condominiums, meaning if there's a dispute, if there's an election issue, if there is a violation, they are supposed to be on top of it. However, they do not have the resources to keep up with it, especially in Florida and the amount of buildings that that the state has. So I do know that the bills have added resources for them, but I think that that's going to be a challenge in enforcing and keeping up with all of the new obligations that people have, to be able to police and enforce it.
Got it. Okay. So how does the 40-year recertification affect this research study?
So a 40-year certification really looks at mechanical, engineering, plumbing, AC. It's more above the surface, and it's handled by the municipality itself. So while it is encompassing, it doesn't get rid of your CSRS obligations and must be done in conjunction. So it depends on the age of your building and when it was constructed as to when you have to do the milestone inspections. 40-year, 50-year, 60-year, every 10 years you have to do it once you get to the 40-year. But again, you can do it in conjunction with the CSRS, and depending on the when your building was constructed and when the last recertification was, it can go hand in hand, but usually it's done on it as its own structural, as its own inspection and study. Yeah.
Got it. Where do the reserve funds go for the association?
It's all reserves, whether they are collected based on the CSRS evaluation, whether they are collected as part of your annual budget, they should be segregated. And a lot of associations commingle them, and then they just, it's improper to do that. The reserves need to be in a separate bank account, and they should also be segregated for specific projects. If you have, for example, a special assessment, those could be segregated into another account as well, or easily identifiable within the reserve account.
Right. Got it. And just to clarify, sir, structural integrity reserve study, for those that kind of got lost between what is CSRS and that's just the acronym. So to bring it all together, Ariella, because a lot of our followers or the audience that's going to be receiving this is they're probably owned as an investment property, a rental property that's within an association, or they're thinking about buying their first property within an association. So how does this all tie into how the real estate market for condos is being affected or impacted? I mean, I know that there's the real estate professional's perspective on that, but as an attorney that, you have a pulse on what you're seeing coming down the pipe with, what associations are facing and these studies happening or not happening. How do you see it impacting the real estate aspect of it?
So it's impacting it a lot. I mean, without a doubt, it's many ways. The first is a lot of unit owners cannot afford the assessments that are coming down the pipes in order to keep their units and be in good standing with the association. So to make these payments, and they are being forced to sell their units. The issues we see is that sometimes these units are worth less than what the actual assessment contemplates. So it is less than the mortgage payment that this unit owner would have, is not worth them investing another, $40,000 or $80,000, depending on what the building needs done. But some of these buildings are in prime locations, so we're seeing either people buy things on the cheap and trying to obtain more real estate assets, and we also see people who are trying to conduct more due diligence when they're purchasing. So your average transaction is not really limited, or shouldn't be at this juncture, if you are buying a condo, to the seller representations where they're saying, they don't know about any incoming assessments, because chances are there is some assessment happening, and there is a way to find out. There's records requests that can be made from the seller by the buyer in that situation. You can also do more of I would just say more due diligence is necessary to understand the financial situation within the building. And finally, there are a lot of terminations. I know we didn't touch upon that before in previously, but a lot of buildings are ripe for termination, where developers are buying them or getting a bunch of units cheap to try to force the condo to terminate, meaning it's going to end, because again, the upkeep is so much more than what the actual asset is worth for the unit owners, that they want the land itself.
Got it. Understood. So, I mean,
and we've seen it on all sides. We've seen, terminations. We've seen people purchasing, people selling. There's people on the news who are saying they have to sell for pennies on the dollar because, the assessment is so big, nobody wants to take that on. So it's all part of it.
And we're definitely seeing that because of all of those factors and the due diligence that buyers are exercising right now, time on market is trending up significantly. And obviously there has been a significant increase in inventory. So we all knew that this was coming. It's just, unfortunately, because of the timing, things are just not more relevant. Now we're really seeing the effects of all these new statutes.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of a slowdown. And you have all this new construction where they're delivering hundreds of thousands of units. And Miami, or South Florida is supposed to have an influx of people coming in, but locals are also being displaced. There's a lot of shifting going on in the condo market itself.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that information. Anything that you would want to add just to button that up, and then we can go into the part.
There are a lot of nuances to it. Everything can be found in Florida statute, chapter 718.112. That is like the holy grail of what is currently in effect. It is always changing. And so obviously having an attorney well-versed in this is crucial, but the state has been trying to put out a lot of materials to facilitate people. So Googling and being informed is the first step to protect your asset. And that's what I would recommend everybody does, because we all just try to leave it up to the board members and let them do what we think they need to do, or we don't want to be involved. But really it's impacting the value of your home or, your investment property. So that's the biggest piece of advice I could give.
Got it. Thank you for that. So we're going to get into the fun part where we get to know you on a more personal level. It's called the lightning round, and you don't know the questions I'm going to ask.
Oh my God, no.
I want to for your blood type. So the first
I don't even know if I know that off the top of my head.
The first question I have is, if you could have any superpower for a day, what would it be and why?
I think I would have like lightning speed so that I could get everywhere that I need to be in my life on a daily basis quickly and do things quickly, but mostly like flying through traffic or speed of light through in travel.
Yeah, for sure. To beat this many traffic because of
exactly.
What's the weirdest food combination you've ever tried that surprisingly tasted good?
Carrots and mustard.
That's a new one. I've never heard of that one before.
Weird.
What's your go-to karaoke song?
I don't really love karaoke because I have like stage fright. But anything like, Boys to Men would be really fun. And always gets people happy or excited.
What's the last movie or TV show that made you cry or laugh?
I saw Moana 2 with my kids, so that was fun. And I recently watched The Empress, which made me kind of cry. It was a little bit intense. And I also watched Nobody Wants This, which made me laugh.
I heard of it and I haven't gotten to watch it.
It's super entertaining.
And then the last question, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Hard work pays off.
Love it. Such a basic quote, but
yeah, it applies to everything.
Agreed. Well, thank you so much for joining us, for your time and your expertise, Ariella. How can our followers reach you?
Well, you can reach me via email at agutman@haberlaw.haber.law. I should say it's a little bit weird. or you can find us on our website at Haber Law LLP.
Awesome. Thanks again. We appreciate you, and I look forward to
Thank
seeing
you.
you again soon.
Yes, I'm sure there'll be more updates.
Absolutely. We will. This to be continued.
Definitely.